Welcome to Press to English, the place to improve your English fast with videos that are easy to understand. We'll talk about the IELTS exam. Probably many of you who are watching this have an exam coming up in the next few days or weeks. I've seen other IELTS videos that are good out there, but we think we have something different that can add value to your preparation. So stay with me for the next couple of minutes. We'll go over some practical tips to overcome the IELTS speaking questions. This time, we're starting with the first task, the introduction and the interview, and we'll post more videos on task 2 and 3 in the future. The speaking test is the same for both the academic and general module, and my advice is when you practice at home, you should record yourself. You may have heard other people say that, but they don't usually tell you what to do with the recordings, so let me tell you what I think now. When you record yourself, make sure you don't do any of these. 1. Don't end the answer after making only one short sentence. That's not enough. 2. Don't go off topic. 3. Don't repeat the same words or expressions too often. 4. Don't use a monotone voice and pause frequently. If you notice any of them in your recordings, write them down on your journal to serve as a reminder for you. The next time you practice, look at your journal first and remind yourself not to repeat the same mistakes again. In the beginning, you will be asked these questions before you start the interview. Note that the answers for these questions will not be graded. They will ask the following. What is your full name? What should I call you? Where are you from? Can I see your identification? For those answers, you can just give short answers. It doesn't matter. Those questions are not part of the actual test questions. I hear from a lot of people that they always feel nervous in the room, so when you enter the room, try to calm yourself down. Maybe take a deep breath, or for me, when I feel nervous, I try to pinch myself. I think the pain helps shift my attention away from the test. What I'm trying to say is, find a way that works for you in order not to feel nervous during the test, because that will only hurt you. So after those introductory questions, your interview will begin. Part 1 is about 4 to 5 minutes long. You will get 3 different topics and a few questions for each topic. The first question is always about what you do or where you live. And the rest will be general topics related to your background, your interests, or everyday things around us. Your answers don't need to be very long here. I would say 15 to 20 seconds would be okay. If you speak for much longer than that, that's too long. You need to practice making a shorter answer. So for the first topic, let's take this question as an example. The examiner will say something like this. Now in this first part, I'd like to ask you some more questions about yourself. Let's talk about your hometown or village. What kind of place is it? How should we answer this question? Before we talk about the answer, have you ever read the requirements to score a certain band from the IELTS website? Here you can see the requirements for band 8 and 9. If that seems too confusing, let me try and make it simpler. For fluency and coherence, you need to speak without unnecessary pauses and your answers are on topic and well developed. For lexical resources, you use higher level vocabulary but in a natural way, not forced. Some people try to memorize sentences, and when they recognize those memorized sentences, it won't help you get a higher band. So when you memorize something, my suggestion is practice it as many times as it takes until you sound natural. Record your voice, listen to it, or ask other people their opinions, and so on. Next, the grammatical range and accuracy. To get band 8 and 9, grammar mistakes don't happen often. Maybe you have 1 or 2 of them. And you display a wide range of grammar structures in your sentences. Lastly, the pronunciation. Even though you may have an accent, they can understand you easily. They don't need to guess what it is that you're saying. So don't get confused. Even a person with an accent can still get band 8 or 9. Now, let's go back to our interview questions. We're talking about your hometown or village. What kind of place is it? So for part 1, I recommend that your answer should be to the point because the answer is going to be short. Typically a 15 to 20 second answer is enough, so aim to have 3 to 4 sentences. Don't worry about making an introduction or conclusion in your response. Those are not necessary. So give your answer in the first sentence and just add a few explanation points behind it. What do I mean by that? Let me show you. So in this case, my answer is a metropolitan city. So my hometown is a metropolitan city, and for my supporting points, I like to add that the city has about 10 million people with a lot of high-rise buildings. So using those ideas, I can give a response like this. My hometown is the capital of Korea, Seoul. It's a metropolitan city with a population of almost 10 million people. In fact, it's the largest city in Korea. And typical of big cities, Seoul has a lot of high-rise buildings to accommodate the large population. So you see, I form sentences using the answer I've created and the supporting points that I've come up with. Some people ask me, what if I don't know the population of my city? Well, it doesn't matter. You can do one of these two things. One, make it up, make a guess. You can say, oh, I know it's the largest city in the country, but I'm not sure of the size of the population. I'd say it's around 5 million. Or you can talk about something else. Population isn't a must. You don't always need to talk about the same subtopic. I talked about the population and the buildings, but you can choose something else. For example, talk about what's popular, what's famous there. Or talk about the geographical location. Is it near the ocean, at the foot of a mountain, resting on a valley, etc. Now, you may still ask me, well, what if I don't know any of that? Unfortunately, I have bad news for you. That means you're not prepared for the exam. We know that they'll ask you something about what you do or where you live, so prepare some speaking points in advance. Do some research about your hometown if you want. Likewise, prepare some things to say about your job, or if you're a student, say something about what you study or where you study. By preparing in advance, I hope that you will not pause too often and your answer will be coherent. Keep in mind that for part 1, you don't have any time to prepare. So after they ask you the questions, you're expected to answer right away. To help you come up with ideas, try to ask yourself some additional questions. Use those WH questions. With our question about the hometown, we can ask ourselves the who, what, where, when, why, or how questions. For instance, who live in your hometown? What kind of people? Seniors, young people? Or where is it located relative to where you are now? Maybe you're born in Beijing, but now you live in Australia. How can we get there? How far is it? Those could be some examples of questions you can make in your head to help you come up with explanation points for your answer. Let's try another question. Why do you choose to live there? As the answer, you can say that, oh, safety is important to me. That's why I picked that place. Or maybe because of access to education. You want to give a good education to your family or your children. Or for some of you, maybe it wasn't even your choice. So you have the freedom to give whatever answer you want. Just make sure that the answer is well developed. You give some explanation. So the last one I said that, oh, it wasn't my choice that I live there. After that, I will explain it further. My family has lived in the city for generations. And my grandparents, my parents never thought of moving anywhere else. As for me, I'm still in school, so it makes more sense for me to live with my parents. However, after I graduate, I want to try find a job in another city. So with that response, I'm saying the answer is living there is not my choice. And I explain it by saying my family has been living here all this time. But later, I have a wish, I have a dream to move somewhere else. So that's an example of a question about where you live. When the examiner is done with that topic, he or she will pick another topic. So let's have a look at another example. What's your favorite color? You might say, my favorite color is blue. Wait, before you say that, let's take a quick pause here. It's not wrong to say that, but Remember, we're taking a test. We want to score highly. So why don't we try to show our vocabulary? We can say, I've always loved navy blue. See what I did there? I just throw in navy there as an attempt to score an extra vocabulary point. And don't stop there. As I said earlier, add a few supporting ideas. Here's an example. I've always loved navy blue. When I was in elementary school, my dad was renovating our house, and he asked me what paint color I would like for my bedroom wall. And as you may have guessed, I said blue, but this time we went with sky blue because my dad told me that a bright color would look better. Let's try another question. Do you like wearing sunglasses? Yes, without a doubt. I've always been drawn to fashion, and I consider sunglasses as part of my fashion. So if you come to my bedroom, you will see my sunglasses collection neatly stored in my drawer. I think I have about 15 to 20 pairs of sunglasses. My mom still yells at me to this day for spending so much money on them. With that response, my answer is yes. And my supporting points for the answer is that sunglasses are part of my fashion, and I do have collections of sunglasses at home. And what if you want to say no? You don't like wearing sunglasses. That's okay. There's no right or wrong answer in the speaking test. They're asking for your opinions. You can tell them your opinions, or you can even pretend. They're just evaluating your language skills. Here's another example of saying no to answer that question. No, not really. I'm not used to wearing sunglasses, and I guess it's because I wear prescription glasses. You know, when you wear prescription glasses, you tend to wear them all the time, or at least for me. And back in the day, prescription sunglasses were very expensive. I do have one pair of sunglasses, but it's a bit of a hassle to take off my prescription glasses, store them in the bag or in my pocket if I want to put on the sunglasses. So with those examples that I've just given you, I hope you have a better idea on how to answer part 1 questions. If you do it as I say, your answers are likely to be coherent. I'm going to give you a couple more tips. If you like what you're watching so far, let us know by clicking the like button and subscribe to Press to English. That way we know that people find value in this kind of videos that we make. Now, what else can we do? During the test, because the setup is an interview, be animated, be lively, don't sound like a robot. Being friendly can help too. You want to smile, speak loud enough so that the other person can hear you, and don't be nervous. To sound fluent, we want to speak like native speakers. How do we do that? Well, we can try throw in some expressions that make our responses more natural. Here are some examples, and you would see some of those in the previous examples I've given you already. We say, well, you know, not really, not at all, why not, or who doesn't like wearing sunglasses? If I have to guess, the population is probably around 5 million. To be honest, I don't really know much about that. So short and simple phrases like those can help elevate the score of your responses. And how about pronunciation? Do you have a thick accent? Check if native speakers understand what you say easily. If people often ask you to repeat what you say, maybe your pronunciation isn't clear. In that case, you should spend some time to practice your pronunciation. Imagine you speak for 2 minutes and the examiner only understands half of what you say. That would be such a waste of your time and effort. Here's a fun little test you can try to do at home. You can try use your phone, speak to Siri if you use an iPhone, or speak to a Google Assistant. Do they understand you perfectly? Does your phone recognize every single word you say? That would be one way to check if you don't have anybody else around you who can tell you. Alright, I will stop here for now. I'll be back with another video to cover task 2. If you still have questions, please let me know in the comments. And if you think this video is helpful, please hit like, subscribe, share it with others who may need it. I'll see you again in the next Press to English video.